we recorded last time, you mentioned that there are different ways of doing things, right? How do you access this? You can access this way and that way, and there is not one way of doing it right, because we always, as a consultant, you should know that it depends, right? There can be a right way for one thing and not as right way if you look at it from a different angle. So wanted to talk to you to today. Wanted to talk about this topic, which very much is overlooked. Then we talk about Power Pages development. If your background is .NET development or Dynamics 365 development, most likely most of your tools will be around scripting and coding. But we know with Power Pages, there are Power Pages native instruments, tools, which we can use to customize Power Pages. And one of these is a metadata, right? And you, if you see the screen I'm sharing, this is a form, the feedback form, right? Let me scroll it back and make it a little bit bigger. Okay. And then I made it bigger. You can see at the very end of this form, I put this list of existential questions, right? And also, I want you to help me to rate the service, right? And I will be talking about these two controls. And we know in the world of Dataverse and model-driven apps, we practically don't have much of a choice on how we display lookup control and how we display choice, right? The choice will always generate as dropdown, and the lookup will be a lookup, right? Which is something with a looking glass and the list. Let's just have a look at the regional lookup control on Power Pages. I will click on this looking glass, and here we go. This is the window with the list of existential questions. You can search here. You can pick up. You can click on select or cancel. Don't know what remove value really means. Has a pretty scroll bar. If you are very good at UI, UX, you can try to get rid of it. You can make it a little bit prettier, but it very much going to look like this. And you see the list is not very big. There's not too many items in there, and we know it's going to remain this way, right? So I can select from here. Yeah, you told me.
Can I ask some questions?
Yeah,
Before you get into that, what is this lookup records? When does it comes up? What are these questions? For
I want you to pick up your like it's a feedback form, right?
yes,
So I'm picking up feedback, and I want to know what's your favorite existential question. I don't know why
okay,
I need this knowledge, but there's a set of questions which are basically uh, the humans, it's philosophical questions about life and death, about uh, the God
so
existence. Yeah,
it's a list of questions in a
yeah. We
table. Yes.
I was thinking about the answers. You can have a text box on your feedback by picking. Yes, there's a missing bit. I was thinking on how to organize this. For the demo purposes, it's not important, but it's really important. And I'm glad you asked this question, because it's really important to know what's in list and what's the purpose of the list, because it will impact the way we design the form. And what I'm trying to tell you next, you know what I'm going to tell you and where I'm leading to, but this is essential because, as we said, there are multiple ways, and then depending on the content, and it depending on how quickly this list is going to grow, we can make our choices on which control we're going to use to display this list. But let's say we don't know much, so we just put this lookup on the form by default, and this is the original way of this looking. What do you see from your perspective, like from the user perspective? Then you see this list. What are disadvantages for you as a user
Mhm.
of this lookup in on
Um,
a form like
um,
this from your user experience perspective?
from my perspective, the first time I see this lookup pop up on Power Pages or on Power Apps portal, first it's a big unique experience. You don't really see this type of pop up to select. It's a very similar experience from D365 where, from my background, I'm
Hmm.
familiar with that and I can pick up that easily. But I guess for most of the websites out there, this is kind of a unique experience, and also it takes a few click. You would click on the magnifying
Yes.
glass, and similar to D365, you find the record. And a good thing is on the window you can search, and
Search.
yeah, and I think that's a good benefit for using the lookup from my perspective.
Hmm. So
Um, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, you just mentioned something, and I totally lost the point. And you were yes. Then we talk about the desktop, right? This
Mm-hmm.
is a thing. But then we talk about mobile. It's even weirder, right? Because in as a mobile
Mm,
user, there's how
yeah,
pop-up
imagine clicking that.
experience
Yes,
a
yes.
little bit weird because yeah, we know the mobile is just more about scrolling and you know this. So I think then we discuss the context, we discuss the purpose of the control, the content of the like what's in the list is important, but that's also important which device we use and yeah, this
Mhm,
whole like from the user perspective, am I going to use laptop, desktop, or mobile device or other device? So I have another form for you. It's
mhm,
very similar to the previous one, but look at the existential question now comes as a drop down.
mhm,
And this is another way. I know it's not sorted properly, and it's probably because and then I was preparing demo.
mhm,
Something like everything went wrong pretty much, and I was struggling with permissions. But look, it looks different because I know
mhm,
the list will be always short. And sometimes we do know this, sometimes we don't know this. Sometimes we need search, and sometimes like this list is probably not the best example, but we always know what can be like we need to keep it as a lookup in the system, but it's really will be not so long list. And you know the examples
mhm,
from your
mm,
developer perspective.
mhm. This is amazing. Can you show us how do you do this with
Yeah,
from that
look, I did my homework.
yes.
So this is a Power Pages management app. And
Mhm,
then on this form, which I used, the website feedback, it's not the original one, it's the second one. We have the form metadata, and here we can define. And I tried to show this on the grid straight away, but
mhm,
because it doesn't fit, let's just make it bigger a bit. Still doesn't, it still, we cannot, yeah, it's basically here we have the one of the parameters tell us render
mhm,
lookup as a drop down. I will open the record. It's a little bit, see, my screen is a little bit too big. So let me just make it smaller and hope you can still see what I'm doing.
mhm,
Um, I will click on the record to open the form. And here where we specify metadata,
mhm,
at the top, we can pick up the type of metadata and we select attribute and the control style because we know that it's a lookup. We can
mhm,
pick up from all these things which we don't know what it is. In this case, it will be generate render lookup as drop down, and we specify the attribute and we just save it, and the magic happens. Look again for the original form, it looks like this. Then we
mhm,
specified metadata, it generates it like this. It's not for everything. It's not a magic pill which you can use for any lookup generated as drop down. Then we
mhm,
have related lookups. If we generate them as drop downs, it's not going to work the way we want it to work. So we have to keep it in mind. If we have dependencies and we have dependent lookups, then we
Mhm.
cannot use this functionality. Um, do you want to say
Um,
something else? Yeah.
yeah, can I confirm? So,
Yeah.
do you mind show us what are the other options there under attributes? So this is a way we can
On,
do render lookup as drop down without any coding, and we add a metadata against the form that you were
yep.
on, and all you need to do is choose attribute
Yep.
and render lookup as drop down. You mentioned a very interesting point there, where it's the dependent lookup.
Yeah.
Does it mean something in a scenario like a category or subcategory,
Mm,
which by default is working in D365, and
yeah.
if it's on the portal, it's working, but it's if we turn lookup as a drop down for this, it will stop working. So that's a
Yeah.
consideration point.
Yeah.
Is there any other scenario that you would choose lookup over drop down?
Yeah, then the
Or
list is big and we need to search. If you know that
yeah.
the list is big, if you cannot guarantee it's always remains a small, there's a
Mm,
chance that your drop down will be just too big, too long, right? So that would be my other consideration. Can you think about something from your experience?
so yeah. So if yeah, as you mentioned, if like the option you have 200 options and user don't know what are the options, it's probably better to give them a lookup window and they can search from it. Another thing is probably if you need to display another column, because with a lookup pop-up, you can with
Yeah.
this option you can put extra columns. So if you want to give them a
Mm-hmm.
name and also a description at the same time, this probably the,
Sometimes you can have multiple items with the same name for whatever reason,
mm-hmm,
and you will need additional information. Even if you have different items,
yeah.
uh, it still could be for you to select the item. You'll need more information with just than just a name. In this
Mm-hmm.
case, lookup will be much better option.
Yeah, I totally agree on this. With one exception, which I think we did recently, which is on the country selection.
Hmm.
Country, I think, is that's probably the only exception where, even though the option could be hundreds of, could be 100, 200 of them, but when user get to this question, they usually knows what they need to select, and it's quite natural to have country as a drop down rather than lookup in most of the websites.
I agree. It's actually it would help to have a search box in there, but this
Yeah.
whole different custom control, which we are talking about the way of no coding and
Mhm.
custom control of PCF control would be the opposite to that. But that
Mhm.
definitely would help if we had this option. But I
Mhm.
agree with country, and the thing I know this a little bit of lengthy. Video, and I don't know what we're going to cut at the end, but I think the other important thing you mentioned, and it's really important to me as a user, the known we talk about unknown, the known experience as a web user.
Mhm.
I go through other websites and I have to fill in forms. So there's certain experience which is an expected experience for me, and then I see something which I don't know, which unknown is unknown to me. It scares me, and it makes me wanna walk away and not fill in that form. And as you said, we get used to certain things, and the way it is, like countries that drop down. I was thinking in the same context because I wanted to show another control. As you could see, the rate is very
Mhm.
different. It showed shown differently here. And because I don't want to talk another 13 minutes, for another 13 minutes, I will only say that here drop down and there radio button is also done through the metadata, and the homework for you probably would be to go and explore how it can be done is in a
Mhm.
very similar way. With the metadata, you can generate radio buttons from the drop down, and we used to rate in the radio buttons. We used to pick up states from the drop down. Then I started thinking about putting states in the radio button. I cringed, and my whole brain is just no, I don't want to see this on my screen. So there's some things of what we usually see in other places and what we used to as users, and it's important to make this whole user experience as smooth as possible and to scare users as less as possible.
Mhm.
Is there anything, Abby, you want to add to this?
I really like how you put it. This is a norm experience for user. If there is certain expectation where they probably learn from other websites, and if we can keep the experience in a similar way, the website becomes less scary
Yeah,
in a way. Yeah, and I love this topic. Maybe we can extend on
continue.
this some other day or two for
Yeah.
other fields. For this one, and it's on the lookup versus drop down, and that's I really like this topic. Well
Thank you
done.
so much. Thank you so much. Like commenting and sharing your experience was very insightful. Thank you very much for
Thank you,
this
guys. Thank